Hey everyone, welcome to December Daily 24 Story 24. And I'm here with a template that I created for the Ali Edwards Hybrid Product Play class, along with this awesome Christmas Eve die cut that I've been dying to use. A printed version of one of the frames from the December Daily release that I kind of resized, and I'm going to be placing that in the middle here, along with that Christmas Eve die cut. So that's my plan. It may change, but right now that's where I believe that I am headed with this. Along with the template that I created for the class, I did a little bit of modifying and I printed out or cut out some of the shapes that I created inside of the template because I'm going to make some flip open pieces. And I am going to put some journaling on the back side. And that was because I wanted to add all of the photos that I was interested in, as well as the journaling, and I also want to do some stamping. So all of that together would not fit onto the template as I created it. So when you have a chance to make a change, you can go ahead and make it. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So in the Hybrid Product Play Classroom, you can see that there are also several other ideas for working with this template. If you haven't taken that class, it's not too late. So there's no secret that I love this December Daily Alphas and Numbers, but it was too small for what I had in mind here. And I decided I was going to go ahead and make my own mixed alpha with a bunch of the Alphas Are Awesome sets from Ali Edwards. So here I have about, I think maybe 8, not really sure how many, but I do have several of them. I have the number 1, I have number 2, I have number 3, number 7, number 8, number 21, and the most recent number 23. And I chose these because they fit well with the words that I want to say. So I'm just going to go ahead and really quickly go through this. I am just randomly picking out letters from all of those different stamp sets that I just mentioned. Right now, I am stamping with Rustic Wilderness. This is an archival ink, and I am just putting the words that I want to say. I knew ahead of time what I wanted to say, so I kind of just counted the letters, and that is what made me choose these specific alpha sets, because I knew how many letters I would need to fill the spaces. And I was kind of just looking at the height of the letters as well as the width of the letters. So now I'm moving on to one of the other flip opens. I'm using Barn Door archival ink for this. And again, just picking out random letters and making them fit. And this was so super fun. I had such a good time doing this. I totally could have used the digital alphabet for that December daily set, and I could have completely resized them. But this was so satisfying and so fun, and I had such a good time. I love stamping. I love stamping, and this kind of stamping with alpha sets is like my absolute favorite. So this last color that I'm using is Peeled Paint. Again, another archival ink, and I love them. I've just been working with them a lot lately. I just think they're fun. I like the way the colors come out, and I like that it's not messy. It's not messy. It does stain my stamp sets, but that just shows that they are well used and well loved. Alrighty, so I'm done with those. And then I start to move on to getting everything together. I'm going to start making the, getting out my art tape and putting everything together here. So I'm just kind of showing you how this is going to be on here. I'm going to have to do some creative cutting with that first one, Fun at Fridays on the Eve, because it is where the holes are. And as I'm doing this, I realized that I did want to do a little bit more stamping because I have my journaling. And the journaling that I added to this template and printed out, I left a little bit of space for one of Allie's new stamp sets where she has a phrase in there that says, "I love this." And I love this and I love the set. If you haven't seen it yet, it is just a super, super fun set. And yeah, this was just the perfect way to add it into this particular spread. And I'm actually going to use the Misty for this. I pull out my acrylic block and then I decide that the Misty would be best. So I can get a nice straight impression without having to get super close to the paper. So I'm going to just kind of put each of my pieces on there. I'm stamping each different piece with the rustic wilderness, the barn door, and the peeled paint as well. So that is this part here. And you'll see that that is on all three of those pieces. And once I am done with this, then I will begin to put together the actual flip out parts and put the journaling on and get everything the way that I want it. You will see that these inks, I do wipe them off, but there's no need to, because there's very, very little ink that comes off of the stamp, or very little ink that comes off on your fingers either. So this part is just your basic using the tape. This is artist tape to make the flip out open and close, always testing and making sure that it's not too tight together so that it does open and it does close. Because if you put the flip out too close to where you're adhering it, it will have a tendency to pop open. And I had a little bit of trouble with that top one there. It kept popping open on me. So I was just trying to find different ways to add it there so that it would stay closed. It just, again, I know that eventually in my album, I know that the weight of all of the other pages, especially since this is story 24, I know that will definitely keep it down. But for now, I'm just trying to get it as flat as possible. So as I'm doing this part here, I'm thinking about how I'm going to cut this Friday's one. And that one I ended up saving for last because I had to put a little bit of thought into it. I knew that I was going to have to cut that and I was going to have to punch holes in that in order to make it so that it would go into the rings of the album. But I just wasn't sure how that was going to turn out. So I did save that for last. And I punched holes in the base page. And then I'm just kind of measuring to see where will I need to cut in order to put this in the rings. So I'm just marking some holes on the back of it. And instead of using my hole punch, I just use the We Are Memory Keepers punch and line up the holes, and that turns out fine. And then as I'm doing this, I realize that I might very well end up cutting off a little bit of that journaling, and I started to worry because the holes, when I put that stamped piece on top of the journaling piece, the holes were so super close to the typing. And again, if worse came to worse, I would just have to reprint it and move the words over. But I did make it work. And I put down the little strip with temporary adhesive at first. And then I lined up the remaining piece of the stamped part. And I realized I could do a little bit of shifting and make it work without having to start over. Again, it wouldn't have been the biggest deal in the world, but I went ahead and cut off the edge. And then I had to pull out my craft knife, my ruler, and I had to, because I had to move the journaling over to the right more. So I ended up having to do some cutting, but everything turned out okay. So sometimes you just have to make it up as you go, the best that you can. This is not a science, it's an art. And again, things happen. So I'm happy. I'm happy with how it ended up turning out. So I needed to remove that last little piece of art tape because there was no need for that. And I am just adhering that down with rolling adhesive. So my next problem comes when I decide I'm going to add this circular piece in the middle with some foam adhesive. And that ended up being a little bit messy, but I also figured that out as well. Here's some numbers, puffy black ones. I decided that I wanted to kind of mix it up a bit. I've been using a lot of gold. And here I am cutting out my foam adhesive, putting it on the back of the circle. And I realized that I need to be very careful when I'm putting that in the middle because I didn't want the circle to hit any of the flaps. And as I'm putting it down, it gets stuck in a place that I didn't want it. So here I am trying to pick it up without ripping it. Also realizing that I could reprint it if I needed to. But I did get it up, and I ended up having to cut a little bit of the foam adhesive off the backing there. Nobody's perfect, right? We all make mistakes. I kind of dug at it a little bit with my knife and my scissors. That piece got a little bit bent, but nothing that anybody would ever notice, and I ended up being happy with it. So, not the biggest deal in the world, but I do run into glitches every now and again. So let's take a look at the finished product in my album. You can see I did make some changes, which I often do after I'm done recording. Before I sit down and take my photos, I take a good look at everything, and I decided to add a little bit of yellow in here. So yellow stars, little plastic yellow stars, with little black enamel dots, all of which were from my stash. And I also pulled out a watercolor yellow pencil and I colored in the scallops around that circle. I just kind of felt like there needed to be another color mixed in there with the reds and the greens. And then I also stamped at the top with one of the stamp sets, Holiday Adventure. So that kind of brought a little bit more black in, along with some tabs that I placed on the pieces that open up. And here it is, opened up on my table, and I love it. I'm super excited with how it turned out. Like I mentioned earlier, the template is available in the Allie Edwards December Daily Hybrid Product Play class. Also, a couple other ideas are in there as well. And again, if you're still working on December Daily, it is a class that's available, and you could totally take it anyway because there's a lot of ideas there that can be translated to pages that you're working on outside of December Daily. And then, of course, there's always taking the class just because December Daily is going to come again, and it'll always give you a jump start and some new ideas. So you can go ahead and check that out. But I thank you so much for following along with me. I have one story to go. Super excited about finishing up. Longer than usual this year, but I did have a really good time. So once again, thank you for coming along this journey with me, and we will see you in the next video.